All right, peeps, who's ready for 20 and up? Let's get this done. Two options for you at 22 are Bobby Portis and Draymond Green. Bobby Portis been getting the same minutes the last couple of games, both right around 25, so just over his season average. Really low production recently, 15 and 13 those two games, which falls just outside of the low end of his expected range. I would put his expected outcomes in the 15 to 38 range. 22, I think you can play him this weekend. Draymond Green, 25 minutes on average for the season, but you got to bake in the fact that he gets ejected a lot. He's only played 16 games. Those games that he got ejected, he only played a couple minutes, so that dragged his average down. Since coming back, he's starting to ramp up. The Warriors obviously had a big layoff with their assistant coach dying suddenly. Last night, about 23 minutes, he put up about 30 points. I think you're going to see his minutes increase. If you look back earlier in the year when he was playing a decent amount, he'd get up in the 30s pretty regularly, high 20s. I think you can expect that soon. My expected outcomes for Green range anywhere from 15 to about 41. I think you can play him at 22. All right, I'll probably end up skipping both these guys, but at 23, you can certainly play Cam Thomas. You can play Spencer Dinwiddie. Thomas's numbers, I'm so sick of talking about this guy. He gets hot once in a while, but usually he's just throwing up bricks. 48 a couple games ago, low 20s. You don't know what you're going to get. 14.5 variance is huge. Price is still too high, even though one's down to about 12 bucks. I just feel like he's either going to get benched or traded or something's going to happen. They're going to figure it out eventually that he's just not that good. 0.99 a minute. If he's going to average 28, I think the minutes are about right for the season. That's kind of where he's at right now. 15 variance puts him anywhere from 13 to 43. So yeah, he can have a good game for you, but you want to pay up for that? You want to take that risk? Hard pass for me. Spencer Dinwiddie, people are saying he's not even trying right now. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't imagine that. He probably doesn't like the path the team is taking. They've got some talent. They just can't seem to figure it out. You want to play Dinwiddie? I would expect him to get around 30, but looking at the minutes, last game he played 19. So who knows what the hell they're doing in Brooklyn. He's another big variance guy. If he puts up 29 on average, I'd say he's anywhere from 16 to 43, and at 23, yeah, you can play him. Again, that's a pass for me. DeAndre Ayton had a great quote a couple days ago about how he was a max player and he was going to continue to be a max player. Nothing left to prove in the NBA, which is all a bunch of bullshit because he's a bum. And he missed a month with minor injuries. He didn't make it to a game because the roads were icy. Probably the worst signing of the offseason. He just doesn't care. He made his money. He's just happy to be there. Coming off his best game. Now, this was an overtime game last night in Houston. 50 points. Right? So he's certainly capable. He's just a bum. So I would expect him to go right back to scoring 8 or 10. Some nights he just doesn't want to play. He'll just go out there, commit a couple fouls, take himself out the court. His number's so low at 24. I mean, I don't think you can ignore him. He's going to have some minutes. I mean, they're going to try to play him. If he decides he wants to play, you're going to get a good performance probably, but how often does that happen? Not real often. I mean, he's in the 20s and 30s pretty regularly, I guess, when he gets normal minutes, but he just doesn't care. We just break down the numbers. If he's going to get 30 minutes, right around his season average, 31, which I think is at least in the realm of possibility. Assuming he cares, he's at 10 for a standard deviation, so it puts him between 20 and 40, and 24, yeah, you can play that guy. It's just a pass for me. I just think he's a bum. Russell Westbrook, on the other hand, I think you can definitely use. With Zubac's out, he's stepped up a little bit. Minutes are up a little bit, although last game they were down. Didn't matter. He still scored well. 1.13 a minute. Very good. He's an energy guy, still at 35 or however old he is. He just brings it every night. Kind of the opposite of Ayton. I would say you're looking at probably high 20s in minutes most nights. You can bump this up to around 30, meaning that he's probably between 20 and 40 also, but I just like him better as a player. So at 24, you can certainly play a guy whose range is 20 to 40. I feel like everybody in Atlanta is just waiting to see who's leaving town over the next couple weeks with the trade deadline looming. Clint Capella's minutes have been down lately. A season average of 26, but he's been more in that 22 to 24 range recently. So I think you can move this Sorare average down to about 30. That standard deviation of 8 tells you he's pretty consistently boring. I would say he's between 22 and 38, and that's certainly playable at 26. Right now you can get him for $4.23. If he does get shipped to a contender and starts playing more minutes, this may be a good one to have in your gallery. This is actually a really good time to be playing Malcolm Brogdon. He's been playing huge minutes lately. Even without the 5-minute overtime last night, he's looking at 36 minutes, 35, 32, 37, last 4 games. His numbers tell us that if he's going to play in that 36 6-minute range at a 1.1 point per minute. We're looking at almost 40. He's somewhere in that 23 to 55 range, and at 27 L10, I think you can definitely play him this weekend. Portland gets the Spurs, so a good matchup, and then one at home against Chicago. Sticking in Portland, when we get to the 28 level, Anthony Simons is right there with Brogdon. Last bunch of games, 40 minutes, 38. 30, 33, another 40, so that would have been 35 without the overtime. And he's starting to get it going a little bit. 46 Sorare points yesterday. Minutes on the season are about 33. I think you can bump that up a little bit. Sorare average bumps up to somewhere in that 37, 38 range. He's another guy with a huge standard deviation, so you're looking at somewhere in that 22 to 52 range. Absolutely playable at 28. If you don't have the 8 or the 12.60 to spend on Brogdon or Simons, you can take a look at Jonas Valanciunas. Doesn't always get the minutes because New Orleans seems to be blowing teams out pretty regularly. So he has an average of 26.5. That gives him 32. He's between 20 and 44, and at 28, he doesn't have the top end upside of Simons or Brogdon, but he's certainly in play. After dealing with some injuries and missing a game or two, Derek White went from the 20s in minutes, got a couple nice games, been back to the 17 and 25. The last 4, he's back in that mid to upper 30s range where he's been most effective this year. At a 29 L10, he's actually headed down to 27 for the coming week, I believe. 1.08 per minute, really good. If these minutes are in the mid 30s instead of the low 30s, I think you can bump his Sorare points from about 35 up closer to 40. We're going to say 39, the standard deviation of around 13. I think you can put him between 26 and 52, making him a great play at 29 and a good play next week going forward. He is pretty expensive right now at $10.30, but probably worth it. Pretty tough to predict minutes with Miles Turner. He was not in foul trouble the night he only played 19 minutes a couple games back, but in the other games with Siakam, he's played 34 and 37 minutes. So if he's going to play in those mid-30s in minutes or even low 30s, that's up from his season average of 27.5. He's 1.22 points a minute. That's very good. Obviously, Halliburton's still out. He's going to be better with Halliburton on the floor. If he can get in that 30-minute range, though, I think we bump this up to about 36. Standard deviation of around 11. We're looking at 25 to 47. And you can certainly play a 31 at those ranges. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with De'Aaron Fox, but he is still playing big minutes, over 40, 2 out of the last 5 games, and then high 30s, all the other ones. So 37 on average recently. I would say you can bump his Sorare average up into the high 40s. So if you're looking at a 47 with a 15 standard deviation, you're going all the way from 32 up to 62 for a range, and at 36 he's got to be in play this weekend. Anthony Edwards doesn't quite have Fox's upside, and he's more expensive. Edwards is almost $10 more. Breakdown on him would be he's getting right around 35 minutes a night his last 5 games, so he's perfectly aligned with his season averages, which gets about 41 points on average. A standard deviation of 14 tells us he's somewhere in the 27 to 55 range. Certainly playable at 36, but Fox is a better upside play and cheaper. For those of you who play Champion, your best Champion MVP plays this weekend are going to be SGA and Jokic. 48 for SGA is really low. 11 variance tells you he's in the range of 42 to 64, so a nice play at 48. Jokic, you're looking at 41 to 71, and so 53 is a nice play. But again, I don't have to tell you to play Jokic or SGA. You should know that by yourself. Thanks again for watching and liking and subscribing, and feel free to comment. Give me some stuff to break down. Happy to respond. Appreciate y'all. Have a good weekend.